You get nothing. Amanda's voice echoed through my living room as she waved the wedding invitation in my face. James is marrying Olivia next month, and guess what? No divorce, no property division. You're just getting kicked to the curb. She was practically bouncing with glee as she delivered the news that my husband of 8 years planned to marry his mistress without divorcing me first. I took a slow sip of my coffee, letting the familiar warmth steady my hands. Thanks for telling me, I replied calmly, watching confusion flicker across my sister-in-law's face. She clearly expected tears, maybe some screaming or begging. Instead, she got a smile that seemed to unnerve her more than any outburst would have. My name is Sofia Martinez, and at 34, I had just learned that my husband thought he could start a new life without legally ending our marriage. What Amanda didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for the past 6 months. That's it. Amanda pressed, clearly disappointed by my lack of reaction. Did you hear what I said? James is marrying Olivia. The ceremony's already planned. Their new house is being renovated. You're nothing to him now? I set my coffee cup down carefully. I heard you perfectly. Is there anything else? Amanda's triumphant smile faltered. This wasn't going according to her script. She'd always been like this, taking pleasure in delivering bad news, especially to me. From the moment I married her precious brother, I was never good enough for their family. You're being weird, she said, narrowing her eyes. Why aren't you upset? James is replacing you with someone younger, prettier, from a better family. You should be crying. I thought about the last 6 months, about the quiet preparations I'd made after finding lipstick on James's collar. Such a cliché, really. The late-night calls, the suspicious business trips, the sudden need for privacy with his phone. I remembered the moment I found messages between him and Olivia, planning their future while plotting to leave me with nothing. But I also remembered my grandmother's words from years ago. The smartest players are the ones who let others think they're losing. Amanda, I said, standing up and smoothing my skirt. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I appreciate you taking the time to deliver the news personally. She took a step back, thrown by my composure. You're up to something, she accused. I know you. You're planning some kind of scene at the wedding, aren't you? I laughed softly. No scenes, no drama. I genuinely hope James and Olivia will be very happy together. Mom was right about you, Amanda spat, gathering her designer purse. You never deserved James. You're not even fighting for him. As she stormed toward the door, I called after her. Amanda, tell James congratulations from me. The door slammed behind her, and I waited until I heard her car start before pulling out my phone. With steady fingers, I dialed a number I'd memorized months ago. Mr. Wilson, it's Sophia. Everything's proceeding exactly as we expected. They've set a wedding date for next month. I paused, listening to his response. Yes, Amanda just left. She was kind enough to show me the invitation. No, they still have no idea. Yes, I think it's time to move forward with the next phase. I hung up and walked to the window, watching Amanda's car disappear around the corner. She'd run straight to James, telling him how strangely I'd behaved, how I must be plotting something. They'd worked themselves into a frenzy trying to figure out my angle, but they were looking in the wrong direction entirely. Opening my laptop, I checked my email. The confirmation I'd been waiting for had arrived. All the documentation was in order. Every transaction James had made in the past year, every account he tried to hide, every piece of evidence of his relationship with Olivia, all of it carefully cataloged and verified. I opened the safe hidden behind our wedding photo, ironic placement, really, and pulled out the small leather notebook where I'd kept my own records. 6 months of careful planning, of playing the unsuspecting wife while quietly building my case. James thought he was so clever, planning his new life with Olivia, thinking he could simply walk away from our marriage without consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Whatever you're planning, it won't work. Just accept that you've lost. I smiled at her message, thinking of the meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. James, Olivia, and their perfect plans were about to hit a wall they never saw coming. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making a scene or fighting back. It's simply being prepared. Setting the phone down, I walked to our bedroom, soon to be just mine, and began methodically removing James' expensive suits from the closet. He'd want these for his new life with Olivia. I folded each one carefully, remembering the day I'd found the first hint of his betrayal. a receipt for a diamond bracelet I'd never received, tucked into one of these very suit pockets. That day had changed everything, but instead of confronting him, I'd started planning. James always underestimated me, treated me like I was naive, easily manipulated. He was about to learn just how wrong he'd been. I heard my phone buzz again, probably another gloating message from Amanda. Opening my dresser drawer, I pulled out the wedding invitation Amanda had so gleefully waved in my face. Next to it, I placed the file Mr. Wilson had prepared. The contrast was almost poetic, their elaborate plans for a future that was about to implode, and my simple documentation that would tear it all apart. Time to show them what nothing looks like, I whispered to myself, closing the drawer with a soft click. The next morning, I dressed carefully in my favorite charcoal gray suit, a gift from James during happier times. By 9 a.m., I was seated in Mr. Wilson's office, reviewing the final details of our plan. "They should be arriving any minute," he said, arranging the documents on his polished mahogany desk. "James believes this is a standard meeting about his new property purchase with Olivia." Right on cue, we heard voices in the hallway. James entered first, his confident stride faltering slightly when he saw me. Olivia followed, then Amanda, who must have invited herself along to witness what she thought would be my humiliation. "What is she doing here?" Amanda demanded, while James's face darkened with anger. "Sophia," he said coldly, "this is a private meeting. You need to leave." Mr. Wilson stood, his expression professional but firm. "Actually, Mrs. Martinez is exactly where she needs to be. Please, everyone take a seat." "Mrs. Martinez?" Olivia questioned, her perfectly manicured hand gripping James's arm. "I thought you said the marriage was never legally registered." I watched James's face pale slightly. That had been his story to Olivia, that our marriage wasn't legal, that he was free to marry her without complications. Amanda shifted uncomfortably in her chair, suddenly less certain of her brother's carefully constructed narrative. "About that," Mr. Wilson began, opening a thick file. "I have here the legal marriage certificate for James and Sophia Martinez, dated 8 years ago. Properly filed, completely legitimate." "This is ridiculous," James interrupted, standing up. "We're here about the house purchase. I don't have time for whatever game Sophia is playing." "Ah yes, the house purchase," Mr. Wilson continued calmly. "The luxury property you're attempting to buy with funds from your joint accounts with Mrs. Martinez. That's actually why we're all here today." I watched as understanding slowly dawned on their faces. James sank back into his chair, while Olivia's grip on his arm loosened. "Over the past 6 months, I spoke for the first time, my voice steady. James has been systematically moving money from our joint accounts into a private account. Money we earned together, money meant for our future. You had no right to track my finances," James snapped, but Mr. Wilson held up a hand. As his legal wife, she had every right. Moreover, Mrs. Martinez has documented evidence of financial misconduct, including attempts to hide marital assets and make unauthorized transfers. Amanda's smugness had completely evaporated. "James," she whispered, "what did you do?" Mr. Wilson laid out document after document, bank statements, property records, evidence of James's attempts to hide our marital assets. Each piece of paper stripped away another layer of his carefully constructed deception. "The house you're planning to buy," I said quietly, "you're using our joint savings for the down payment, money we saved together over 8 years of marriage. Did you tell Olivia that?" Olivia stood up abruptly, her face flushed. "You said it was your money," she accused James. "You said there wouldn't be any complications." "The complications," Mr. Wilson interjected, "are quite significant. Attempting to purchase property with marital assets while planning to deceive your legal spouse is fraud, Mr. Martinez." James' confidence had completely crumbled. "This isn't what it looks like," he tried, but even Amanda was shaking her head. "Mrs. Martinez isn't interested in pressing charges," Mr. Wilson continued. "What she wants is a fair and legal division of assets, starting with the immediate freezing of all joint accounts and a proper divorce settlement." I pulled out a document of my own, a comprehensive list of our marital assets and a proposed division that my lawyer had prepared. "I'm not trying to ruin anyone's happiness," I said, looking directly at James. "I just want what's fair." The room fell silent as James stared at the papers in front of him. His perfect plan was unraveling, and for once he had no smooth answers, no easy escape. If you refuse to cooperate, Mr. Wilson added, Mrs. Martinez is prepared to take this matter to court, where all of this would become public record. I watched as Olivia gathered her designer handbag, her engagement ring catching the morning light. We'll discuss this later, she said to James, her voice icy. I need to make some calls. As she left, Amanda stood up too, looking at her brother like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. Mom's going to have a fit when she hears about this, she muttered, following Olivia out. James and I were left alone with Mr. Wilson. The silence stretched between us, heavy with 8 years of shared history and 6 months of betrayal. Why didn't he just talk to me? He finally asked, his voice hoarse. Why all this secret planning? I stood up, smoothing my suit jacket. Would you have listened? Or would you have just found a way to hide everything better? He had no answer for that. As I walked to the door, I turned back one last time. I loved you, James. I deserved better than being discarded without a second thought. Leaving the office, I felt lighter than I had in months. The carefully constructed plan had worked perfectly, but more importantly, I finally stood up for myself. Amanda's words echoed in my mind. You get nothing. She had been wrong about so many things, but mostly about what nothing really meant. The weeks following the meeting brought changes I hadn't expected. Olivia disappeared from the picture entirely, apparently deciding that a man who would lie about his marriage wasn't worth the drama. Amanda, surprisingly, was the first family member to reach out. I owe you an apology, she said over coffee at a small cafe downtown. I was horrible to you, and I was wrong. I stirred my latte, watching the foam swirl. Why the change of heart? After the meeting, I did some digging, she admitted. Found out about all the lies James had told everyone, not just Olivia. He even lied to Mom about where the wedding money was coming from. She paused, looking genuinely remorseful. I was so busy being his loyal sister that I never stopped to question anything. The divorce proceedings moved forward smoothly after that. James, stripped of his bravado and schemes, agreed to a fair settlement. The joint accounts were divided equitably, and I kept our house, the one I'd helped pay for with years of hard work. One evening, as I was sorting through old photos, deciding what to keep and what to let go, my phone buzzed with a text from James's mother. Can we talk? She asked. There's something you should know. We met in her garden, the same place where James and I had taken our engagement photos years ago. She looked older and more tired than I remembered. James's father was the same way, she said quietly, pruning her roses. Always chasing something new, thinking he could outsmart everyone. I stayed, made excuses for him. You're stronger than I was. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small key. This opens a safety deposit box at First National. I've been saving something for years, just in case any of my children needed it. She pressed the key into my hand. Use it wisely. Inside the box, I found documentation of James's father's similar schemes. Hidden accounts, attempted property transfers, patterns that James had unknowingly repeated. I didn't need it anymore, but the gesture meant something. His mother had seen the signs and had prepared, just like I had. 6 months after the meeting in Mr. Wilson's office, I stood in my newly redecorated living room, looking at the space that was now truly mine. The walls were painted in colors I'd chosen, decorated with art that spoke to me. No more compromise, no more dimming my preferences to match someone else's expectations. Amanda visited regularly now, our relationship transformed into something I never expected, genuine friendship. She helped me redesign the garden, turning it into a peaceful retreat. You know what's funny? She said one day as we planted new flowers. James is the one who ended up with nothing. No wife, no girlfriend, no house. All because he thought he could have everything without consequences. I thought about that as I worked in my garden, about how nothing and everything could look so different depending on where you stood. I had lost a marriage but gained self-respect. Lost a husband but found my strength. The final divorce papers arrived on a sunny Tuesday morning. As I signed them, I remembered Amanda's gleeful declaration that I would get nothing. She had been right, in a way. I got nothing of what they thought mattered. No drama, no revenge, no public scenes. Instead, I got everything that truly counted, my dignity, my independence, and the satisfaction of knowing I had handled things on my own terms. That evening, I hosted a small dinner party, my first as a single woman. Amanda was there, along with James's mother and a few close friends who had supported me throughout everything. We raised our glasses in a toast, not to endings or beginnings, but to truth and resilience. To getting nothing, Amanda said with a wink, and gaining everything. As laughter filled my home, I thought about the woman I was 6 months ago. Listening to Amanda's cruel announcement, she had no idea that her attempt to break me would only reveal how unbreakable I had become. Looking around at the warm faces of people who had seen my true worth, I realized that sometimes getting nothing was the best thing that could happen to you. It cleared the space for something better, something real. The garden lights twinkled through the windows as night fell, and I smiled, knowing that this was just the beginning of my story. Not as someone's wife, someone's sister-in-law, or someone's disappointment, but as myself, complete and whole, ready for whatever came next. And that was worth everything.